Hello everyone. How are we doing on this Sunday the 11th of April? Hope you're all doing well. Thank you very much for joining me on this monthly stream. So today we're just going to do some sort of Q&A, so keep it very casual. I know last time I focused a little bit more on looking at the books, and there's a few question and answers that came with it, but this time we're just going to focus on any sort of questions that you guys have for me. Let me know as well if you can hear me, guys, because I've swapped out the microphones this time. We're just using the desktop microphone on my computer, so let me know if it's all good. Hopefully there won't be as much sort of echo, much atmosphere as there can be with my other microphone. But yeah, so this week we're going to crack into some questions. I had a little Q&A thing over on my Instagram to get a few ideas, some sort of questions rolling from some people. So prior to this I had a few questions, I had a few look over what people had sent in to me. So we will crack on with a few of those questions, and hopefully as the stream goes on more and more people will join and drop a few more messages in the chat, which you guys can see on screen as well. So first off, we have a question from Brian Talks Films. I'm not sure if he's here yet, but this was Brian's question asking me what my favourite Ryan Gosling performance is. And this was a bit spooky because I was literally creating a Letterboxd list yesterday when I received this question, looking at some of the films sort of within his sort of repertoire, and I really wanted to sort of focus on more of his work that I've not seen. I've only seen, I think it's about 7 films of his, but there's a few more that I want to see that I know have had good reception. But in terms of performances, well, first off I'll list the films that I have seen by his. Give me 2 seconds. So in terms of Ryan Gosling films that I've actually seen, they include La La Land, Blade Runner 2049, Drive, Nice Guys, Crazy Stupid Love, The Notebook, and The Place Beyond the Pines. So out of those films, you could say like, oh, I enjoyed those films as a whole, but in terms of performance I would have to say either Drive or The Nice Guys. They're both very, very different sort of characters, very different roles for Ryan Gosling, but I think he's able to sort of suit either sort of genre and tone very easily. And well, across the films I've just listed, he's able to work in various genres and with different directors. So I think he's a great actor. I think he's coming into his own a little bit now. I think La La Land put him on the sort of, and Blade Runner as well actually, sort of put him sort of in the public eye a little bit more. But there's a few films that I want to sort of go back on. I might focus on him and his filmography this month. So I want to watch things like Blue Valentine. What else haven't I watched from Ryan? I've got Only God Forgives, picked that up on Blu-ray. There's a few other films, but yeah, I think he's a great actor. So for me, my favourite performances from him would have to be either Drive or The Nice Guys. Very different films, but I think he does them so brilliantly. So the next question that I had from Brian again was, what is my favourite Denis Villeneuve film? I guess you may have watched Blade Runner 2049 for some inspiration from that, but many of you may know that Denis Villeneuve is one of my sort of favourite sort of directors. He's sort of got a bit of a bigger name now, but I sort of became aware of him due to his film Prisoners. That was the sort of first film that got me into his work, and then from there I watched Enemy as well, and I think he just has a very unique sort of, he brings that sort of French side out of his French Canadian sort of roots really well, like the sort of the mystique, the sort of the noir of his films. So I think he's one to watch, and it was disappointing that Dune didn't get a cinematic release last year, but obviously I think it was for the right reasons. But that film I think will change the way which people see him as a director. He might be be a bit more of a contender for those bigger prizes. And I think he'll become a household name when that film does come out. But in terms of my favourite films from him, one of them would have to be Prisoners, because that was the film that sort of got me into his work and made me sort of analyse cinema a lot more. So that came out in 2012, and it stars one of my favourite actors, Jake Gyllenhaal. So it's just a really great film in terms of performances from all of the sort of the lead cast. So I think that's one of my favourites. And then the other one would probably have to be Arrival, which came out, was that 2016? I think it was, possibly. And I saw that one in the cinema, and I really enjoyed this film. I think it took the sort of the alien invasion sort of story and sort of theme onto like a different route compared to other films. It's not like your Independence Day. It's not your Mars Attack. It's completely different, and I think Amy Adams plays a brilliant role in this. Being a sort of a linguistic lecturer, I think she is, and the sort of the communication is really important. But also there's that element about her being a mother, and I won't spoil it too much, but the decisions that she has to make, and it makes you put yourself in that position as to, would you do the same? So for me, it's a really significant film from him, and I think that was his sort of step into the sci-fi genre. And then he did Blade, and then he's obviously doing Dune. So I think he's sort of gone down that route. I've never seen Sicario. I know people love that film, or both those films, but it's a series that I've not got round to yet. But yeah, for me, it would have to be Prisoners and Arrival for my favourite Denis Villeneuve films. Sorry guys, just have a little drink. So the next question that I had was from Biscuit and Blu-rays. Again, I'm not sure if you're in the chat yet, but he asks me, if you could pitch a movie to a film studio, what would it be? If this means like an original idea, I'm not too sure, to be honest. I've not really thought about it. I've not really thought about sort of original stories and writing and film production for a while. So I'm not too sure, but if it was from a writing perspective, it would probably have to be some kind of psychological thriller, sort of bringing in a lot of influences from a lot of A24 sort of horror films of the last couple of years. I've really enjoyed that sort of tone that they bring to all their films. The Lighthouse, Hereditary, Midsommar. I think they've all got something that, when I did used to write sort of anything sort of scripts or such, that was probably more the nature that I would sort of go down in terms of route. So it'd be probably some kind of dark, twisted thriller, horror, if I was trying to pitch it. But what would make it different, I'm not too sure. But something along those lines. Yeah, that's quite a tricky question. But yeah, I'm not too sure. Let me know if you guys have any suggestions for film. Are you guys sort of wanting to, if you had to sort of produce any sort of film, what sort of film would you guys choose? Hello Ludovici Street, how are you? Thank you very much for joining me. Is there an A24 movie you really like the best? I was looking through, I can't remember who did a post recently on Instagram. It might have been Film Fighter actually, who posted like their ranking of the A24 films, and it's really surprising some of the titles that you forget were produced by them as a production company. But yeah, I would probably say The Lighthouse, Get Out. What else was there? Those are the two that are jumping out at me anyway. Hereditary was great as well. I wasn't actually a fan of Midsommar as a whole. Uncut Gems was great. I've yet to rewatch it. Moonlight was okay. I wouldn't say it's one of my favourites. So at the minute I would say Hereditary and The Lighthouse are my favourite A24 films that I've seen. There's some really obscure ones that I haven't worked my way around to yet, but I need to work. I need to get there eventually, in terms of working through that production company's films. But that's all I had in terms of questions from people before in Instagram. So if you guys have any of the questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, any sort of comments, and we can chat through those now. There's no real structure in this month's live stream. It's just we're just going to go for it and see what you guys say, and we'll get some conversations going. The Lobster, yeah. Top Cinema Moments, The Lobster is a brilliant film. Again, I think that was one of the films that was just so bizarre. Like, with its very sort of European style, you know, the slow pans, the dark humour. I think that was such a bizarre film. But I've yet to see Killing of a Sacred Deer, which was that director's sort of follow-up film. So yeah, but The Lobster is a cracking film, absolutely cracking film. Ludovici agrees, Hereditary was great. Yeah, I was really surprised by that film. It's that sort of eerie, dark, like it wasn't necessarily jump scares, but you know, you'd see things in the shadows just creeping about. And I think that's what makes it a lot more scarier. Those sort of really sort of slow burning moments, and I liked the sort of it all linked back to sort of like, you know, like paganism and stuff like that. So I thought it was a pretty solid film in terms of modern horror. I think it's one of my favourites, definitely. I know we've got the BAFTAs coming up. I think it's tonight in the UK. So maybe we should have a look through who's up for nominations, if you guys are up for that. Nominations. Have I seen St. Maud? No, I haven't. I know it got a bit of a cinematic release to when people were able to see it in different countries, or I think it might have been over the break over here actually. Around Christmas, people could see it, but no, I missed out on that. Is that a good one, Ludovici? I missed that one. So when are the BAFTAs? BAFTAs are yesterday and today. Interesting. I don't know if these people have won. Have some people won some categories? Do we know? Let's just double check so we're not doubling up over ourselves. Winners. Who won yesterday? 2-night ceremony. That was yesterday. Okay, so there's a few things that came out yesterday. You recently saw a Korean film called Burning. Oh, I have seen people talk about this film. Hasn't it got Stephen Yeun, and I think it's the actor that I saw in a hashtag Alive recently. I think it's the same guy. So I've not seen that yet, but you saying it's good? Or is it bad? St. Maud is crazy good. Yeah, I'll definitely check it out. I think I just missed the opportunity. Okay, so there was a few awards last night, and then they're carrying on the BAFTA tonight. What day are we on? Sunday. Let's have a look. Many technical prizes were handed out yesterday, with the main awards happening tonight. Who else have we got? Other winners included Rocks, a low-budget film starring a group of teenage girls, Christopher Nolan's Tenet. The winners from the first night were casting was the film Rocks, costume design Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, makeup and hair Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, production design Mank, Sound of Metal, special visual effects Tenet, British short film The Present, not seen that one, and the British short animation The Owl and the Pussycat. So they've got a few of the sort of, I don't want to say lesser categories because that's unfair to the people involved, but it's definitely some of the ones that people aren't as excited or talked about. And then it's on again at 7 o'clock tonight. The BAFTAs. Nice. Yes, the BAFTAs are on tonight. I'm not sure where you are, Ludovici, but they're on at 7 p.m. GMT here. So I don't know if you watch it live or you just catch up on the results. But it's always really interesting to see with the BAFTAs. Wonder if. So let's have a quick look at the categories, if that's all right. Unless you guys feel free to drop any of the questions in, but in the meantime, we'll just run through some of the BAFTA topics, categories, sorry, that are up for grabs tonight. There's quite a few, so we'll just run through some of the main ones. Won't keep you here all day. So best film. This is the one that everyone's after, surely. So for the best film, we have The Father, the Mauritanian. I think that's the one with Benedict Cumberbatch in. I think. Maybe I've got it completely wrong. Nomadland, Promising Young Woman, and The Trial of Chicago 7. I've not seen any of those films, not by choice, but they've just been very hard to access. I mean, Trial of Chicago 7 was on Netflix, but I've not got round to it. Outstanding British film, Calm with Horses. I watched that last month. I thought it was pretty good film. The Dig, saw that as well. The Father, His House. I really liked His House. I hope that gets a nod. And Limbo, which I'm not sure about that one. Outstanding debut by a British writer, director or producer. His House, Limbo, Moffie, Rocks, St Maud. There you go. Ludovici, St Maud is up for a BAFTA. Interesting. So we've got the foreign film category. We've got Another Round. I've not been able to see that. Dear Comrades, Les Mis, Minari. Can't pronounce this last one. Quavadi, Ida. Animated film. There's only 3 films in the animated section. How bizarre. We have Onward, Soul, and Wolfwalkers. Well, the only one I've seen is Soul, so that's going to be. I can't believe there's only 3 people being nominated within the animation categories. Like when everything else has at least 5. So many. Hello, Wongo. Thank you very much for joining me on this little live. Has anyone really been far even as decided to use even? Sorry, say that again. Has anyone really been far even as decided to use even? Go want to do look more like. Is that a riddle? I'm very confused. Am I missing something? So in the best director category, we have Another Round, Baby Teeth, which I've yet to see as well, Minari, Nomadland, again, that film I can't pronounce, and Rocks, so that'll be really interesting. I mean, they probably will try and favour the British film, so I hope Rocks gets that, because that was a brilliant film. Original screenplay, we have Another Round, Mank, Promising Young Woman, Rocks, Trial of Chicago 7. So we're getting a lot of repetition in terms of nominations. It's sort of spread. It's sort of the same sort of loops going round. Leading actress, Bucky Bakray, who was in Rocks, Rada Blank, Vanessa Kirby, Frances McDormand, Wunmi Masaku, and Alfred Woodard. Interesting, very much more diverse cast nominations than we've had in previous years. Whether that's BAFTA making a decision, I'm not too sure if that's deliberate. Leading actor category, we have Riz Ahmed, Chadwick Boseman, Adarsh Gourav, Anthony Hopkins, Mads Mikkelsen, and Tahar Rahim. That's a very, very strong category. Very strong category. That'll be interesting. So we know Rock's won casting. Oh, it does tell us who's won certain things already. Editing, I can see The Father, Promising Young Woman, Sound of Metal. It's very much similar choices for each thing. Supporting actresses, I can see. Can I see in there? Neve Algar, Kosar Ali, Maria Bakalova, Dominique Fishback, Ashley Madekwe. Sorry if I'm pronouncing any of these wrong. And Yu Jong Yoon from Minari. I mean, they're all solid films from what I've heard of. The ones I've not even seen, I've heard they are excellent films. But yeah, Soul's gonna win. I hope it wins. I thought that was something really different from Pixar. It was a very mature film, definitely. So I hope it wins, but I don't think it got very much in terms of nominations at the Oscars, did it? I think it was very very much dismissed at the Oscars from what I remember. So yeah, so we've got the BAFTAs on tonight at 7 PM GMT, and then the Oscars, are they this month? So the Oscars are the 26th of April. Well, they start at 1 AM GMT, so that's a late one. I normally just watch the highlights, to be honest. I've never really stayed up for the Oscars. I've just sort of caught up with it the next day and seen all the highlights and the reactions from the winners and the losers, really. Yeah, I don't lose sleep over that. It's such a long ceremony, really. So I just watched down the sort of edited version of that award ceremony. Was there any in that list that you guys are sort of really looking forward to, sort of, or you hope that win BAFTAs or even the Oscars? What are your thoughts in terms of contenders for best film, leading actors, leading actresses? What's your guess as to who's going to win some of those bigger categories? I mean, I haven't seen a lot of the films this year, simply because they've not been accessible to me. So I would probably say my guess would either be The Child Next Door is banging on the radiator. My guess would either be Nomadland or Minari. I think that's going to pick up a lot of awards at the Oscars and the BAFTAs as well. But then BAFTAs do favour the British a little bit more. So it'll be interesting to see that tonight, 7 o'clock. Probably tuning in for that one. And it's always really interesting to see what wins and what doesn't win. It's all down to personal choice, all subjective. So we shall see. We shall see. Did you guys have any more questions? Let me know in the comments, in the chat bar, down the side, and I will make sure to answer those. That's what this is all about, any sort of casual questions. But I think this is going to be this month's last YouTube live. I don't think I'm going to do them anymore personally. I think if I'm going to do something, I might pop over to Instagram a little bit more. It's a bit more casual, a little less sort of formulaic, but I do seem to be picking up a lot more followers and sort of traction over my Instagram. That seems to be the best sort of place to engage with people. So I might jump back to Instagram for any of those future live streams that I choose to do. But I wanted to try it out on YouTube and see what the sort of interaction and audience engagement would be like over here. But yeah, I might jump back to Instagram, but I probably won't do them as often, or I might really do them very, very casually. Do you think the BAFTAs are more inclusive than the Oscars? Interesting question. I would probably say yes. I think they are. Well, in my experience of them in the last 10 years or so, because they are British led. They obviously will talk about and include a lot of the films that are Oscar nominated, so they're sort of very, they're going to be international films, deemed for success anyway. However, they always throw in those films such as Rocks and Calm with Horses, which are very, very British, sort of very real, very nitty gritty sort of films in there, which you wouldn't see at the Oscars. So I think it's a great chance to sort of show different cultures, different identities of British people. So it's really hard when you put a great British film that came out last year with an Oscar contender and you put them in the same category, but you're nominating it in a British award ceremony, because some of those people choosing the award might just go for the favourite that's going to win, and that might influence, I don't know, some of the Oscars decisions in choosing the winner for that category. But then do you not just honour some people like that have worked really hard and helped British cinema and young artists and the film industry? Do you not just want to help them and sort of signify what great film they've been able to produce? It's a real tough one. But was it last year or the year before? I think it was last year. I think 1917 won Best Picture at the BAFTAs, which was interesting because it didn't really get a look in at the Oscars. I mean, I didn't think it was standout brilliant. I thought there were some good moments. Good cinematography, but the story itself was a little bit simple. However, because we were in the BAFTAs, it's in the Royal Albert Hall, I think that was the film that was going to get the award because it was about sort of British history. And then the Oscars, they seem to favour films about Hollywood anyway. That's why I assumed, La La Land would win, because it's about the people that are voting for them and choosing who's going to win the Best Picture. And, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood should have done better than it did, but it got a few other awards, but not main Best Picture awards. So yeah, I think they are a bit more diverse in terms of the stories they tell, the cultures that we show in Britain especially. I think some of the foreign films in those categories weren't even mentioned at the Oscars. So it's a completely different award system, but I don't think it has too much influence on the American awards at the Oscars, whereas I think the Golden Globes sort of can have a rough guess at what's going to win any sort of Oscar-nominated films. Whereas I don't think our sort of BAFTAs has much as an influence on the big ceremony, shall we say. So it's very different, very, very different. But that's a really interesting question, Ludovici. Very interesting question, making me think now, reflect upon my opinions on this all. But yeah, I'd say it's pretty diverse and inclusive. Much more so, I guess, in the last 10 years. But yeah, it's been very, very mixed. But the award season as a whole it's always very interesting to see. Like I said, I don't watch the whole things. I've never really got into it that much, but I'm always interested to see what people think of the best films. There's always been winners of Best Pictures that shouldn't have won, in many people's opinions, in the last 20, 50 years, however long. There's always going to be a subjective opinion on films, so it doesn't matter at the end of the day. I think it depends. It makes massive difference to some people that are maybe some young and upcoming actors or producers, writers. But but I don't know, maybe does it wear off for like older actors who've been in the game for longer? I'm not too sure. But it's interesting to watch, but I wouldn't take it to heart too much if your favourite film didn't win because a group of people in America chose which is their favourite film, really, or whoever goes to the most dinners and talks to the most people. That's what it's all about, really. So it's a little bit backwards, shall we say, but it's always a bit controversial. I wonder if anything will happen this year, if anything will slip up. I'll be interested to see how they do it as well in terms of socially distancing. Is it outside? I know they did the Grammys outside. I'll be really interested to see what they do. Hopefully it doesn't rain. Never really rains in California, but you never know. On this one night, it might happen. It just might happen. I talk so much, my mouth goes so dry, and I have no drink. Always the case. Always the case. I was just looking at my sort of schedule coming up for the next couple of weeks in terms of content on my YouTube channel. So tonight we have a video going out at 6 o'clock, which is what I watched in the month of March. So that's just giving a summary as to what films I watched and what TV shows, or TV show should I say. So that'll be going out at 6 o'clock. I've had a few people contact me saying they wanted to get involved with the sort of the Zoom call kind of setup sort of videos, so that could be quite interesting. I've luckily been able to get involved with a couple of people's projects. Movie Worm, aka Jordan, asked me to get involved in a video a week or two ago now, sort of talking about my favourite character within film. So if you guys haven't checked him out, definitely go check him out. He does some great videos over on his channel. So yeah, I think the film community at the minute, it's really sort of, there's a real buzz around it. There's a lot of people talking, you know, you have people picking up their sort of DVDs, people talking about sort of the regular sort of films day to day, new releases, old films, people about specific genres. So I think it's a really great place at the minute. Like, there's definitely a lot of people sharing the love, definitely. Sharing the love amongst everyone, so it's good to see. You know, everyone's being very supportive of everyone, and that's all you can ask for, really. But yeah, what do you think about the Oscars and the BAFTAs, Ludovici? What's your opinion on them? Will you be watching them? Where do you sort of stand on those award ceremonies? Are they fixed? Are they worth your time? You know, it's very very interesting in terms of what they choose ultimately. Gosh, April's such a short month, and then next month there'll be 5 videos going out next month. It's a very long month, so hopefully going to get some exciting content, maybe some more collabs. Like I said, a lot of people have been in contact with me about that. Maybe try and, you know, do something a little bit different. I've got a fun idea, but I don't want to say it now because that might spoil it a little bit, but there'll be something a bit more different, but it's still movie themed, but a different type of video, not necessarily a review. So that'll be really interesting. So I'm always looking for new ideas. There might be another book versus film review, sort of coming up to the end of a book, and I might watch the film of it and talk about that. And there's a few books that I've read fairly recently that I could easily talk about. So there's a few in that section as well. So there's various sort of contents coming up on my channel very soon. It's just trying to think of new refreshing stuff, both for myself and for anyone watching it, is quite hard sometimes, because I know I don't want to watch the same thing each week, just sitting down reviewing a film personally. So I would like to mix it up, and I'm always trying to think of different ideas. So if you guys have any other ideas, do let me know. I'm up for suggestions, definitely. It's a long way to go for inclusion, but it's getting there. I don't put a lot of stock in awards, mind you. That said, it can influence the mood of general cinema. When you say that, Ludovici, do you mean sort of what are you sort of talking about? Who goes and sees those sort of films, or the buzz around certain films? I'm not too sure what you mean by that. Sam Mendes mostly works consistent. Great cinematography. Yeah, most of his work is very consistent. I think cinematography is, very, very good. American Beauty, some of the James Bond films. I'm not sure if I've seen anything else by him, but I'm just a little bit. I was just a little bit not surprised by 1917. Obviously, I know it's a very historical film and depicts the sort of character's journey, but I don't know. I think the story didn't really grab me, but there was some great moments in terms of cinematography. Sorry, I think Roger Deakins worked on that one with Sam Mendes, so he definitely. Well, I think he got some recognition for that, didn't he? But I wasn't too sure that it should have won Best Picture. But cinematography, fair enough. Fair enough. If musicals win big at the Oscars, we get more musicals. Or if horror wins Best Picture, then we get more. Yeah. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I think you could almost say that about, what I was saying about sort of the Hollywood like to watch films about Hollywood. That influenced it, I think. That always influences it. I mean, even in black and white era, there's a lot of films about Hollywood that won Best Picture. So it's always happened. I can't think of other genre films that have won Best Picture that have then influenced. I think always biographical films, biopics, always do well at Oscars, and that's that. There's always a couple in each year of the Oscars. Whether they're big celebrities or not, or this film was based on a true story. There's always that element there. Is there any example that you can think of, Ludovici, like a certain film that won Best Picture or a different category that then influenced the way that films were made? Sort of after that, is there anything that comes to your mind when you think about it? Yeah, the ego of Hollywood, sort of loving films about Hollywood, it's always going to be there, isn't it? It won't go away. It won't go away. They're like stories about themselves. That's it. It's always interesting. They don't sort of break their sort of habit of routine of the sort of content and the topics and the films they are about. They don't really break that mould, or they haven't broken that mould yet. But when they're throwing curveballs like Moonlight, Shape of Water, Parasite, they've been a lot of curveballs in terms of Best Picture. Hopefully that's them sort of breaking the mould, but whether they want to do it or they've been told to do that, I don't know. It's a very tricky thing to judge when you don't know the full story behind the scenes. I think Lord of the Rings getting Best Picture saw loads of smaller studios make fantasy. I think the artist influenced the coming of La La Land. Yeah, that is true. That is true. I never saw the artist, but obviously that was a sort of French black and white ode to film or TV. But that might have been it. Then La La Land, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. There's so many films about Hollywood itself, isn't there? Lord of the Rings getting Best Picture. Yeah, I think. Well, it only got it on the third film, didn't it? I think it got it then. It didn't get it for any of the two films, but fantasy was massive, absolutely massive in the early 2000s, and I think the lore of Tolkien and like was just sort of brought to light, and I think a lot of people drew from that, whether they were from books or graphic novels or just original concepts. There was a lot more in terms of fantasy in the early 2000s, and I think, yeah, it definitely had a big part to play, Lord of the Rings, I would say, and it winning, I think it's obviously a sort of a cult classic anyway. People love Lord of the Rings. It's a massive, massive franchise, but yeah, I think it brought the attention of it to a lot more people, and obviously it was groundbreaking at the time. The CGI effects were just amazing when you think about it. The artist looked terribly dull. Yeah, it never really appealed to me. Some people say it is great. I don't have the urge to watch it personally. Babel was amazing, something different. I've not watched that one. Is that the one with Brad Pitt? Is that the Sam Mendes film? 2006. Oh, it's Alejandro González Iñárritu. Brad Pitt, Cate Blanchett, who obviously then worked together in Curious Case of Benjamin Button. So there's that collab there. I've yet to see that film. Again, Iñárritu is a great director. He's created some beautiful, beautiful films. Same with Alfonso Cuarón. Great creative minds. I'll add that to my list. Thank you very much. Top Cinema Moments. I will add that. Inspired from Quentin's Pulp Fiction, where multiple stories connected. Oh, is that what Babel's like? It's multiple stories. Oh, interesting. Very interesting. I imagine there's a lot less swearing, violence, and not musical, like, but the soundtrack is a lot less sort of pop references, but I will give that a go. Babel it is. We'll add that to the list. I can run through quickly some of the Blu-rays that I picked up recently, which I've yet to watch, or just films that I've got on my shelf yet to watch, if you guys are into that. But again, feel free to drop any more questions into the chat and we can talk about it. I mean, there's only been a handful of us today, but that's fine. This will be available afterwards as well, so people might watch this after the actual thing goes up. So, what have we got? This. Nope. This. Oh God. Of course it would be the bottom. Of course it would. So, in terms of Blu-rays, I picked up the majority of these this year, except for one of them. But I've not seen any of these films. I'm not much of a physical media collector. I only pick them up every now and then. but mainly I just use sort of on-demand platforms to watch stuff, and you know, sometimes it's cheaper just to rent them if you know you're only going to watch them once. I think it's great to use services like Amazon Prime or Netflix if they're on there, or small chance they're on there. Yeah, so one of the DVDs, Blu-rays rather, I picked up fairly recently was Assassination of Jesse James, which I've heard is beautiful. Like, in terms of cinematography, this film is lovely. Produced by Ridley Scott, has Brad Pitt, Casey Affleck. Was it Roger Deakins who's did the cinematography? I can't see. I thought it was, maybe it's not. But I'm excited to watch that one. I feel like it's going to be a bit of a beast and I need to concentrate on it. What's the runtime? What is the runtime? It doesn't want to say. Doesn't want to say. 160 minutes. So what's that? 2 hours 40. That's not too bad. That's not too bad. I can do that. And then another Blu-ray which I picked up, which I've not seen, is Boogie Nights. I've not seen this film, but I've heard great things about it. I mean, Mark Wahlberg's in it. I'm not too sure, but I'm going to trust with what people say. It should be a good one. Burt Reynolds, Julianne Moore. It's Paul Thomas Anderson, and I've never watched any Paul Thomas Anderson film. I know people are a massive fan of his work, but I've yet to watch any of his films, so this is going to be the first one that I've watched by him. So yeah, so maybe I will fall in love with his style of directing and writing, but we shall see. So this is going to be my first Paul Thomas Anderson film. I've still not watched this. I picked this up probably 2 months ago. That's Isle of Dogs, the Wes Anderson sort of stop motion animation film. It's got all his sort of usual cast in there. Edward Norton, Owen Wilson, so many people. Jeff Goldblum, Scott Johansson, Tilda Swinton, all of his favourites. But I like Fantastic Mr. Fox, so I wanted to give this stop motion animation a go, but I've just not got around to it. I'm just putting these off, to be honest. And then we have The Lighthouse, which I have seen. I saw it in the cinema when it came out for last year's Oscar buzz. So I picked this up and I like the sort of the black Blu-ray case. I really like that one, but I've just not watched it again since in the cinema. But that's a very good A24 film that we sort of mentioned earlier. So I can't even close the case now. Have I broken it live on camera? No, I haven't. Isle of Dogs, you love it. Oh my god. I've not seen it yet. I've not seen this yet. See this if I've not seen it, so I can't comment on it. Isle of Dogs. I love dogs. I do love dogs. Yeah, I got it straight away. Stop motion animation is so good in this one. Yeah, I'm excited because I think what they did really well with the Fantastic Mr. Fox was the fur, the details. So I'm intrigued to see what they do with this. And I know there's like an infamous like sushi scene in this film, so I'm really intrigued by that one. Hello Pat, how are you? Thank you very much for dropping in. I'm just running through some of the Blu-rays that I've picked up and I've not yet watched. So we have Only God Forgives, which is going to be on sort of my Ryan Gosling sort of film to watch this month. I'm going to work my way through his filmography. Sorry. This month, I've heard this one's not great, but I was intrigued by it. Intrigued what he's going to do in terms of fight choreography. Is it the same guy that did Neon Demon? Can't remember. Nicholas Winding Refn, who did Drive. Oh, okay. So yeah, I'll be very intrigued by this one. I've heard this one's okay. But that ties in pretty well with wanting to watch the rest of his sort of filmography. So that will sit quite nicely. Similar to King Kong, 1933, The Fur. This is a film I picked up a year ago, 2 years ago, on Jake Gyllenhaal's sort of filmography, and that is Stronger, which I've not got round to watching yet, but I will do. I'm very intrigued to see what I know what the story is about. It was a survivor from the Boston Marathon who lost both his legs, and it's that sort of relationship. And I know he had a lot of interactions with the actual the man who it happened to, so I'm intrigued to that. And Tatiana Maslany, is that her name? Tatiana Maslany? They don't put her name on the back. That's lovely. Tatiana Maslany. Yeah, she was great in Orphan Black, if anyone watched that. So those are the films that I'm going to aim to get through in this month, I think. Since I've not seen them all, well, I've seen The Lighthouse. But these are the films that I'm going to really sort of focus on this month. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to focus on Ryan Gosling's filmography as well. And then on there's a few things happening. I think they're getting a few of the titles on Sky. I think they've got Promising Young Woman as of next week on Friday. And then there is Antebellum, which I think was produced or directed by Jordan Peele, starring Janelle Monáe. I think that's out now, possibly, on Sky. So if anyone has Sky or Now TV, there's a few good new films coming out that I want to see. And Netflix has a few as well. Yeah. Sorry, I've got a little bit of tickle. I've been there. I still need to watch. Yeah, I mean, I don't collect too much physical media as such, but I just picked up a few that I've heard that are going to be good. So, like, if I show you, I don't have many. I have more DVDs than Blu-rays. Please don't drop these, Sarah. Please don't drop these. That's the amount of Blu-rays that I have, which isn't a lot really compared to a lot of people's collections. So that's Blu-rays, and then the DVDs is about 150. But Blu-rays, I was when I first started to get a few Blu-rays, I was very sceptical. So they have to be the most beautiful films in order to, in order to validate paying a bit more. God, I got a right little cough. Whereas now, I would just sort of prioritise getting Blu-rays over a DVD if I was going to get a new film. But yeah, so that's my selection of Blu-ray films, and there's a few that I want to focus on this month. And earlier, someone asked me a question about my favourite Ryan Gosling performances. I wanted to say, I said then that I wanted to watch more of his films, as I've only seen about 7, so there's a few more I want to see, like Blue Valentine. What else was there? There's that one where he has that girlfriend that's like a doll. Can't remember. But there's a few more films that I need to see of his work. Hey Paul, thank you very much for dropping in. I don't think we're going to go for much longer, but if you have any questions, do let me know in the chat. I know, I don't know where this cough's come from. It's not the dreaded C word, but I have no drink. I think that's it. I've just been talking for an hour, so it's just worn my throat out completely. What's your film you've seen so far this year? Ooh, is that in terms of new films, Paul, or is that just in general? What's my favourite film this year? Let me have a look, because I always forget what I've watched. So let's go over to my Letterboxd. If you don't follow me on Letterboxd, feel free to follow me. I think there is a link down below in the YouTube info. Feel free to follow me on there. I do a few reviews on there, but I need to do a lot more. Of 2021 movies. Okay. Let me just double check, because some films that I've watched this year are quite old, apparently. So 2021 films, it may or may not, it depends on if we're talking UK release, when they sort of came out. So we've got one, One Night in Miami technically came out in 2020, but in the UK and Amazon Prime it was 2021. So it's got One Night in Miami, The Dig, Malcolm and Marie. What else was new? Rocks, Moxie. I've really not seen many of the Oscar films, is what I was working out earlier. And I watched Run. So technically I've only watched 6 new releases this year so far. There's a few more that are coming out. I was just sort of saying, there's Promising Young Woman is on Sky as of next week. Antebellum's there as well. Concrete Cowboy I want to see on Netflix. So out of those 6 films, I would say my favourite out of those would probably be either I'd say either The Dig or Rocks. I think they were both really solid films. Very, very different, like in terms of the subject matter and sort of the tone, but they're both really good films. I've realised I've picked both British films, and they're both up for BAFTA nominations tonight, which we were talking about a little bit earlier, Paul, about some of the nomination categories. So they're both up for it. I don't think they're in the same categories for certain things. But I like those films. I think I would definitely recommend them both. The only thing that stopped me a little bit is The Dig's the last sort of third. It was a little bit not even about the dig anymore. That's my only sort of negative of that film. Yeah, I haven't watched many new films this year, is what I've realised. Promising Young Woman is the one I'm looking forward to. Antebellum wasn't all that. Oh, have you watched that one? Okay. I'm intrigued. I was trying to work out, is Jordan Peele involved in the sort of the producing? Did he direct it? It definitely has that feel. I think Janelle Monáe is pretty good actor. I'll put both of them on. Oh, you've not watched them? Yeah, definitely check those out. They're both on Netflix, so if you've got a Netflix subscription, then you can watch those easy peasy. Yeah, really, really good. Very, very great British films. And I hope they both do well tonight at the BAFTAs, to be honest. But I'm excited to see Promising Young Woman when that comes out. I really want to see Minari. Don't know where I can see it, unless anyone's got a valid sort of reliable legal link. I'd like to sort of contribute. You know, everyone needs to get paid for what their artwork was for. You know, Nomadland not seen. Trial of Chicago 7. I could see it, but I've not seen it by choice. Well, we've got The Father. I think a couple of people in England have been able to see that now. Can't remember what else. I did see Ma Rainey's Black Bottom as well, but did that technically come out last year in the UK? I think it might have come out in December last year, so we'll say that's last year's film. Hello, Alex's Movie Corner. How are you doing? Thank you very much for popping along to this live. Hope you're doing well. If you have any questions, do drop them in the chat. I've got a little over 400 DVDs in my collection, although I haven't counted in a while, so it's probably at least like, wow, that's impressive. Do you have any sort of Blu-rays packs, or do you just have DVDs? Is it a mixture? I know a couple of people have like Criterion collections, Arrow Film sort of releases. There's so many different things, but I'm just like, just a standard DVD or Blu-ray really, as long as I see the film. I think his name is just attached to Sell Antebellum, right? But I'll 100% check them out. I'll give it a go. I'll give Antebellum a go. I know there's been a bit of a backlash, about, is it a film or a TV show called Them on Amazon Prime, which has no connection to Jordan Peele. However, like the posters, I watched the trailer, it was absolutely terrifying. Was all very Peele-esque, you know, very Get Out, very Us. I think maybe the actress is the same one out of Us. I think she was the little girl. but I've heard it's bad. I've heard it's bad. Is it a TV or film? I can't remember. I thought it'd be a film. Oh, it's a series. It is a series. How many episodes? 10? Oh my gosh. 50 minutes long. I mean, even the title, Them, is very similar to the word us, isn't it? He's got no connection to that project, I don't think. No connection. Oh my gosh. Yep, the reviews even on Amazon aren't looking good. I might give it a go just to sort of see maybe 2 episodes. I think that's probably pretty fair, and see how that pans out. But it looks like Marmite to me. Very Marmitey. I think his name just attached creates buzz. His name is attached to the new Candyman movie coming out, but he isn't. Yeah, I saw a lot of that. I think he's produced it. I'm excited for it, but it's a female director who's done it, and you're like, people are saying, "Oh, it's the next Jordan Peele film." Like, it's not. Like, don't discredit this woman's work for, you know, one sort of good sort of modern horror director you can think of. Like, there are other people out there, and with original thought. It really, really annoyed me. I think it annoyed a lot of people as well on sort of film Twitter. But Nia DaCosta, I think I'm really excited to see what she does. I watched the trailer again fairly recently, and I'm really interested. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really, really good. Have I seen Fleabag? Yes, I have seen Fleabag. I loved it. I haven't seen it. I've only seen it all once, both series, but I want to rewatch it. From what I remember, I much preferred season 2. I think season 1 was quite dark, really. But yeah, season 2 is great, I think. And Andrew Scott is a great addition to the series as the priest. And then I watched about a year ago now. She did a sort of monologue, I think, which it was based on. Phoebe Waller-Bridge just did a solo piece on stage, you know, like a Talking Heads for like an hour, 50 minutes, something like that. Which is basically series 1. It was basically a series 1 recap. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, I think the humour of it is brilliant. And I know she's on board for the James Bond film. They brought her in at the last bit, so I'll be intrigued to see what they do and if they add any humour into James Bond, which is very unlike them, to be honest. It's mixed, but only pick up Blu-rays for films you really like as regular DVDs and much. Yeah, I think that's fair. It's like if you know it's one of like your favourite films, or you know it's going to be like beautiful, then I think pay a little bit more and get that sort of nice, you know, HD or 4K quality, depending on what Blu-rays you buy. Paul says he's excited for Candyman as well. Yeah, I'm really excited. I mean, I only watched the original. Was it this year? I think it was this year. And I loved it. Like, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was so good. Like, it wasn't just your conventional sort of jump out scare horror. It was much more about the sort of protagonist, her relationship, and I just loved it. I had no idea what was going to happen. No idea. But this looks like a sequel. I wouldn't say it's a remake, because when you watch the trailer, I noticed a character from the first one. I was like, oh, okay, they're carrying this on. So I'm excited to see what they do. And Teyonah Parris is in it, who was in WandaVision. So I'm sure that's going to be brilliant. And the main guy, I think he was in a Black Mirror episode. You know, they put the things on the head. I think was that Anthony Mackie as well? I think it might have been. Oh, it's all linked. Everyone's linked together. All the Marvel and Disney people are always linked. But yeah, police cars going by, if you can hear. But if you guys have any more questions, do let me know. Otherwise, I will start to wrap this up. Like I said earlier, there is a... Sorry, I got a right little tickle today. There is a new YouTube video going up at 6 o'clock this evening, which is all about films and TV shows that I watched last month. So what I watched in March. So yeah, that'll be interesting if you want to have a few more recommendations. Just sort of see what I've been watching. It's such a vast genre that I watched last month. I mean, I always try and mix it up. I don't really sort of stick to one genre, or I become a little obsessed with a certain thing, like either like some horrors or something like that. But this month it'll be different, I think. Working on those Blu-rays, that's what I'll be doing. So that'll go up at 6 o'clock. And then I'm not sure what I'm going to do for next week's video yet. I'll have to have a think. Whether it be a regular review, might get Wongo back in for some Wongo's words. It'll be interesting to see what my brain comes up with for next week's video. But yeah, what have you guys been watching? Have you guys been watching anything sort of interesting on TV? Have you watched any sort of new films that are really sort of stood out to you? Anything that you'd recommend that I should watch and talk about? Let me know. Checking out Joji on Netflix. I'm not too sure what that is. Top cinema moments. Joji. I thought you said like Jojo Rabbit at first. Is it a TV show? Where to watch Joji? Oh, is it on Prime? Let's have a quick look. Oh. Included with Prime? Brilliant. An engineering dropout and the youngest son of rich plantation family lives with his aspirations of becoming a super wealthy NRI. But his father sees down on him as a proper loser. Driven by greed and blind ambition, Joji finally decides to execute his plans following an unexpected event in the family. Will he succeed in achieving his dreams? Interesting. Not heard of that one. Nice. I'll have to check that one out. So have you watched that one, Top Cinema Moments, or is that what you're going to watch? I'll add that to my watch list. Excellent. But if you guys don't have any more questions, I will probably think about wrapping this up now. I've been chatting for about an hour or so. But if you don't follow me already on Letterboxd or Instagram, feel free to follow me. Like I said, I think the links are down below underneath this YouTube video. There should be all my social medias where you can follow me. I'm probably most active on Instagram if you want to get hold of me. That's probably the best place to sort of check it out, really. But yeah, I've really enjoyed this live stream. Like I said, I think I might move to back to Instagram and do them a bit more ad hoc on there. Just seems to get a little bit more interaction and engagement over on there, so I think I'm going to shift back to that. You're going to watch it tonight. Nice Top Cinema Moments. Nice. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this month's live stream rather. This will be still live on my channel afterwards, so you can come back and watch it if you missed it, or you want to recap on a certain moment. You can totally do that. But otherwise, new video at 6 o'clock, and I'll see you guys next week for another YouTube video. Bye guys.